Welcome to Your Success Podcast. We give you actionable insight and stories behind real-life success wherever you go. Here are your hosts, Angelos and Mo.
Your Success Podcast is proudly sponsored by Your Tax Partners, specialists in helping business owners and property investors to understand the wide range of tax issues that impact on their income, gains, and overall wealth. Now, let's get into the show.
So, welcome to Your Success Podcast. I'm Angelos.
And I'm Mo. And before we get into the episode, we just wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone that's already bought the Your Success book. Exhibit A, Your Success book. Jackie, thank you, Jackie. We've achieved, we have achieved #1 bestseller on Amazon and are thrilled that this book will reach so many people and really help them achieve their vision of success, whatever that means to them. So really, thank you so much for the support. And if you haven't got it, head to Amazon now and grab it.
Brilliant. So today's podcast, we're really privileged to be joined for a second time by none other than Jackie Tomes. So welcome, Jackie.
Hi, thanks for having me again.
So Jackie Tomes is the property strategist and founder stroke CEO of Tomes Homes and has built a portfolio worth over £5.5 million in 5.5 years, all before the age of 30 years old, which is
not bad.
Pretty incredible. Yeah. So when she's not buying millions of pounds worth of property for her and her investors, Jackie's advising other property businesses worth tens of millions of pounds on their own property strategies. And all of this whilst going on #holiday every 6 weeks, which is pretty damn cool.
That's absolutely incredible. So I suppose the first question that we've got to open with, Jackie, is how do you manage to go on holiday every 6 weeks?
It takes actually quite a lot of planning, really, to be honest. It's whilst it may sound like quite a carefree kind of way to live life, it kind of is, but when you're building a business at the same time, it's very much takes having a structure in place to be able to make that happen. So we were just talking before we started recording this today, like we know what we're planning to do kind of holidays wise as far ahead as like 2020. So I think knowing what you want to, knowing first of all that it's important to you and starting to structure the business around it and having really good, well, as we're going to talk about today, systems and processes in place is fundamental. And obviously ensuring that you can, if you are gallivanting around the world, making sure that you've got access to systems online and paperwork online, and because obviously if you want to keep buying stuff, you need to make sure that that kind of can work without you. So hopefully I'll answer that a bit just as we carry on going through today.
Just for our listeners at home, our talk today is all about systems, systems, and why it's so important to any business, whether you're starting up or whether you're well and truly established, tens of millions of pounds turnover. Is so important to make sure that you've got everything in place.
But I think one thing, before we get onto the systems part, I think one thing really interesting thing you said there was actually people knowing what they want. And it's something that we picked up through writing of the Your Success book and the interviews that we've conducted, is that actually understanding where you want to go is the first part to doing anything. So can you talk us through just briefly about how you actually work out what it is that you want and where you want to take your business and your life and your holidays and things like that?
Yeah, so I think actually this would be a good point to call back to the episode that we recorded back earlier on this year, because that was a big part of thinking about what it is that you want and putting in place those goals and systems and goals in place so that you can make them happen. But in a nutshell, it does take time. People kind of vaguely say, I know what my vision is. I've got a vision board, but actually just throwing together a vision board or something over half an hour is not going to cut the mustard. And what I see a lot is people being very vague with what they would call their vision. They're like, I want to go on holiday a lot. People might know they want to go on holiday a lot, but what does that actually mean? And it's not until you start to put real detailed meaning behind that you can actually start to ensure you can make a plan to put that in place. Because I think what tends to happen is people think you just get your head down in business, you work really, really, really hard, and then one day you wake up, you've got plenty of money, you've got plenty of time, and then you go off and have this wonderful life. Doesn't happen. It's a gradual progression towards where you want to go. And when you've got lots of detail about what that really means, then you can start to make that happen.
Brilliant. Thank you. That's really, really, really interesting.
Definitely. Cool. So I guess our first question, Jackie, what's all this systems about? I've heard a lot of people say, I have all this information in my head. I know how my business runs. I don't need systems. It's all in there, right? So what would you say to such a person?
I guess the first question would be to ask yourself, are you happy with how much time you spend working in your business at the moment? Are you happy with the amount of hours that you work, when you have to work, going back to holidays? Are you happy with how often you can go on holiday? If you are completely happy with how that all works, then maybe you don't. If you're really genuinely enjoying doing all of it, maybe you don't need this. But if you are working more hours than you want to work, if everything in your business falls down to you and you can't rely on anyone else to do something for you, or you try and pass tasks on to other people and they seem to mess it up, then there's something that's not working. And that's where having the right kind of systems, but also the processes around it, that will mean that you can ultimately free up your time so that you're not always having to work in the business, so that you can do the other life stuff around it, like pick up the kids from school or chill out on the weekends. And it's this systemization piece, which, granted, is not the big sexy thing, is what ultimately means you can live that really sexy life.
Amazing. And so you talk about systems and processes. What's the difference between a system and a process in terms of the stuff you do?
Really good question. So for me, a system is like an online tool or something that is like something that you can download and have on your computer. You can obviously make bespoke systems, probably in the realms that we're talking about here, the sort of business owners probably can get off the shelf systems. But for example, say that one of the systems that most businesses need to have is a CRM system. So just because you've got a client relationship management system doesn't mean that all the leads are going to magically manage themselves in the right way, that people aren't going to get forgotten. And that's where having your process that fits around it is kind of the bits that make the system work better, and also the bits that link all the different systems together. Because in an ideal world, and you can do this, systems can talk to each other. There's some really cool tech that you can use to link things together. I'm definitely not a tech expert, but even if you don't have that technical linking stuff, you can have just more manual-based processes that link things together. So systems are kind of like big, like chunky pillars that fit underneath your business, but the process is kind of like, if you had to, like the water that flows between them and makes them all come together.
Awesome.
I like that description, actually. It's really simple, but it makes the point exactly right. So talking of a business context, and there's a lot of businesses that listen to our podcast, but also a lot of property people as well who should be treating their investments as businesses as well. How critical are systems to a business and growing that business? Why are systems so critical for any business?
Because for a business to be able to scale up, you need to be able to have something replicable in place. Now, property is my main business, so that's where I've got the most expertise, and I know this happens in other businesses too. People tend to start up lots of different things all at the same time, which means that it's very hard to see what the consistent themes are in what you're doing, so that you can figure out how something happens, so something can happen again more easily in future. And that's the downside of trying to do too many things at the same time. But if you just got one business, then you can learn how things work for you within your business that gets you a good end result. So at the beginning, it's mostly going to be you doing this. And if you're doing it the right way, you figure out what's the path of least resistance to getting someone to come and invest with you or to buy your product, which means then the next time you can be less involved because you can explain to someone else how to do it. And if you can't do that, it means that you're always going to be integral to the running of every single part of your business. And actually, it's really interesting because Lucinda, who works for us, before she came and worked for us, she was working for a number of different small business owners, mostly within property, as a virtual assistant. And Lucinda found it very hard to work with a lot of people because they couldn't properly delegate tasks to her, because they didn't really know what needed to happen or how often it needed to happen or how you did it. So she'd get booked out in her diary to be working for someone for a couple of hours each week, and she had nothing to do. So therefore, there's no team building there. You're just wasting money paying for someone's time when you're not effectively using them. So that's why it's really key to start to have those systems in place, because then you can start to get other people to help you to do it, which then doesn't mean that everything just comes down to you.
Yeah.
So it adds levels of automation, right? So, and it also helps remove you from the day-to-day running, which helps increase the amount of time you have to go out and find more investors, find more deals, to generate more sales, do advertise, do the stuff that you're actually good at, rather than worrying about HR, payroll, all this kind of stuff, which can easily be systemized, automated, put loads of great processes in place to help deal with that level of your business, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you made a really good point there, which is doing the bit that you love. And if you love, there are some maybe really mundane things in your business that you enjoy doing. So I've got clients who they're within property, they really like the interior design side of it, just as much as like actually like going to IKEA, filling up the shopping basket and choosing what all the things they are that you're going to buy to put into the property to make it look nice. Now, it's not really a very high value task, but if you love doing it, who cares? Because this is like, life's meant to be fun, right? So it's making sure that the bits that you love, you actually have time to do them and you can still do them, and everything else just works without you.
And you'll be if you enjoy doing them, you'll be better at them, and then you can be more efficient and do them, and scale your business up that way. So talking about staffing and systems, how what would you say to someone that's saying, well, I'm the only one that can do it, and I've given it, you alluded to it earlier, I've given things to people and they've messed it up and stuff like that. What would you say to sort of a business owner that's maybe gone down the route of systemization and also delegating things to staff and is sort of not really sure about it because they've had a bad experience?
Because no one's ever going to be able to do it as well as you, right?
Of course not.
Yeah.
No, it's true. And like, I'm a complete control freak and a perfectionist, so there is some level of letting go, so knowing that things aren't going to be perfect, and that's okay. So it's being able to step back and see the bigger picture a bit, because if you're still trying to do everything in your business, the odds are it's not all going to be perfect anyway. And if you can let go of a few different areas and focus on what you're better at, then you're going to be even better at that and be able to make a bigger difference within your business by not focusing on the other stuff. So that's one side to it. The other side to it, I would say, is just to start small. So to just, and you can do this in a very, especially for the first time that you're hiring someone, or if you've hired someone and it hasn't gone well the first time, start by writing little parts of the systems that you have. So for example, how you go through the process of booking in a meeting in your diary. Like, how do you figure out what day someone can have a meeting with you, and where you have it, and write down the thought process that you have when you go through that and document it. Or if you're not writing it down yourself, audio transcribe it and send it to someone who can then type it up for you. Then take that little part of it and get someone to try doing that for you. Test them out and stay closer than the first time. Allow them to ask questions, and see how it goes, see if they make any mistakes, see if anything's unclear, so that the next time you can step back a bit further from it, and they can try and do more of it again themselves, and they see if there's anything else that you iron out. So you're doing it little by little, so you're explaining the things that are required and stepping further and further back each time, and also filling any gaps that you may have in the little process that you've written. And I think if you haven't successfully managed to get someone else in to help you before, and if you're quite a control freak like I was, that's a great way to start. And I know a lot of small businesses, it's great, you can use virtual assistants. You can hire overseas where you can get people working for you for a much smaller amount of money. Just because it's a small amount of money doesn't mean that you have to hire someone full time. So to start out with, you could just hire someone for like an hour a week, and get them working on one real small part of your business. And then when they do well with that, just gradually add to the amount of time you have them for and bulk out what they get involved in. So that would be the process that I'd go through if you're thinking, oh God, someone's messed it up before, or it's perfect.
Do you have a couple of small wins that businesses can start systemizing straight away, Jackie?
I think diary management was one thing that I mentioned there, is a place that you may not feel takes a huge amount of your time, but actually it can take up quite a lot of headspace. And if you have to arrange a lot of meetings with clients or investors or whatever you're doing, that kind of constantly scattergun approach of trying to arrange meetings and figure out where you're going to meet people, to bring that, to systemize that so someone else can start to manage that process for you. For me, trying to focus more on like the high value tasks within a business, that's really helped to free up a bit of wasted brain space. And you
talked in the previous podcast about time blocking, so actually blocking time out for yourself. And I suppose if someone else is managing your diary, it forces you to block time out so that they can't put meetings in that time, which is, again, a good use of that time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can go two ways about it. You can either time block when you're free for meetings or time block when you're not free for meetings. And then it also forces you to go, okay, where do I hold meetings? Which then will probably start to streamline the amount of time you spend traveling between meetings. So yeah, that's a great place to start. And also some personal life stuff. I know when I was really busy, at the very beginning of starting the business, I was working full time still. I was trying to run the business, and even things like having time to do the food shopping or like buy birthday cards or birthday presents. Even that takes a lot of time. So if you're kind of right at those very early stages, starting to put in place the systems that someone else can help you to do those is a good place to start.
Brilliant.
Birthday cards and presents. My God, I'm crap at that. You wouldn't want to be my friend, Jackie. Honestly, you get next to nothing. Because I always remember the day after or the week after or the year after even. Sometimes it's not that good.
And then you go, I'm doing my bit for the environment by not...
Oh, that's a great book. Where do you get that from, Jackie?
That's my birthday present from last year, wasn't it?
And you had to buy it yourself. Happy birthday.
Buy more than one copy.
So I've been following you for a long time, Jackie. And
that's weird.
In a non-stalker way,
right,
obviously.
okay,
Jesus
okay,
Christ, that's another podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you're doing some pretty awesome stuff, doing presentations to hundreds and hundreds of people about property, about systemization, which is your speciality, and strategy. And like we said before, you also featured on Your Success podcast earlier this year talking about vision and the importance of new year, new you, that kind of thing. You've recently launched a new online masterclass. Can you just share a little bit more information about what it is and how it can help people, and perhaps some contact details?
Sure. So it's an online masterclass specifically for people in property. So if you're a property business owner, this is something that is specifically designed for you. So what I heard a lot of frustration from people in property was that you always hear the high level detail about how you do things, but how does it actually work in reality? You tell me that you're getting a management account every single month that tells you how profitable your business is. How does that actually work? So I heard this a lot, and so we decided to create something that went into the very nitty-gritty detail of how exactly you set up systems and processes within a property business, and starting to put in place a framework for how you can make this happen. So the whole course is run across, it's 5 modules, 27 classes, it's over 20 hours worth of content that you can consume basically at your leisure, whether it's you're on a sun lounger or in an office or at a time that suits you. So it's all completely run online, and it's aimed at property business owners who maybe have already got a substantial portfolio, but are finding that it's taking a lot of their time and stressing them out, and they can't quite see how to get from working all the time in the business to stepping back from that. But also those who are just starting out and wanting to set up things right from the very beginning. That is something that's available now. It's only recently launched, and if you're interested about that, you can go and check out my website, which is jackietomes.com, and find out all the details on there.
And Jackie is spelled Jackie, yeah? Okay.
That's correct. Tome.
We'll put the details in the show notes as well.
Cool.
And also they get some time with you as well, talking about their own vision and strategy, which I think is priceless.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Cool. So thank you very much for listening to Your Success podcast. Please go on.
And thank you, Jackie.
Yeah, thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, guys.
It's been a long day. I'm sorry. We're still in book mode.
We started.
Yeah, just because you're Amazon #1 selling authors doesn't mean you can't.
We started really early yesterday morning, and we just haven't slept really. We are exhausted, but really happy exhausted. But
thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Jackie, really.
Thank you.
And thank you for everyone for listening to at home as well.
But more than everyone else listening at home. Thank you, Jackie.
More.
No, thank you, Jackie. I'm sorry. I'm just reading off this thing, and it's just, yeah. So thank you very much, Jackie. It's an absolute pleasure as always, and we hope to have you on the podcast again in the future. And thank you for everyone listening at home to Your Success podcast. Please click subscribe, leave us a review, and we look forward to your comments on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. And don't forget to buy the book, What book you ask, this book. Jackie's got her copy. There we go.
Wow.
And look out for the bits from Jackie in the book as well, some words of wisdom. Head to tiny.cc/your book for the Amazon link. We'll also put the link in the show notes.
As well for Jackie's course.
Yes.
Brilliant. So I've been Angelos.
And I've been a very, very tired Mo.
A toe.
Yeah, all right. A toe. I've been the same.
So see you again on the next exciting episode of Your Success Podcast.
Your Success Podcast is proudly sponsored by Your Tax Partners. If you're in business or an active property investor, talk to them to better understand your tax affairs and your options. If that's you, there is a special offer waiting for you at tiny.cc/successpod. That's tiny.cc/successpod.
You have been listening to Your Success Podcast. Click subscribe for more incredible content. More details can be found at www.yoursuccesspodcast.com.